Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is trainer education, and we're going to cover ghostwriting, and it's programming information. So I've mentioned before that I do a ghostwriting service for other personal trainers, and it kind of started with one of my clients who was a personal trainer was having difficulty with one of their clients in regards to working around an injury, and they were asking me questions, and I kind of just said to them is I'm happy to help, but I don't want necessarily for you to lose the client. So we started talking, and part of the difficulty was if the client knew that I was giving the information, they may want to come and kind of use me rather than my client who was the trainer. So what we decided to do was have me write the programming for my client, who was the personal trainer, that they could then share with their client. And their client didn't need to know that I was involved. So it kind of helped because my client, who was the trainer, I got to continue to work with them. So it was good for business, I guess, in that sense. But I more so just wanted to help them out because we were friends. And I didn't want them to lose someone because they sought out help trying to better their knowledge. So that would be a negative reinforcement is if a trainer doesn't know something, then they try to go seek out more information and they lose their clients for it. It would actually promote them to not seek out new information. So I didn't want to do that. So I thought it was a kind of a neat idea. And it kind of then developed where they told a friend who told a friend, and then I kind of just started talking about it and offering it to other people when the situation would come up. So recently I did another one, and I figured it was probably time for me to maybe do a podcast about that service so people knew about it, and if they were interested, I could just send them this podcast, and then they would kind of have some background information whether they wanted to do the service or not. Then I thought it would be helpful for people who weren't personal trainers, if you are listening to this podcast, that you can hear about some of the programming information and kind of what thought process goes into creating a program. And I think it's just super helpful, and I hope there's some good information in here that people can take away and benefit their own training through the information shared here. So what we're going to do is every time I've done the ghostwriting, it's been a little bit different because of the different needs of each person that I've been able to help. So sometimes we do injury kind of maintenance, like where somebody has an acute injury, their elbow's been bugging them, and like the trainer will say, I have this client, they're doing really well, but I'm afraid they're going to get injured. This and this keeps coming up. What do you think we should do? So we address kind of like a current acute small injury annoyance before it turns into a big one. And then we'll also rehab, like after a big injury, I'll help a trainer understand better how to rehab their client. And often what we're trying to do is not lose sight of all the other goals. So if they have an injury, can they, maybe it's a strength injury for a strength athlete. But can we still build muscle tissue? Can we still keep them aerobically fit? Can we still keep the baseline of ability there? And as we continue to build back up on the strength. So that would be one aspect. There's people who have like back injuries. Okay, I hurt my back, but how do I still have my client have, good legs, have good arms? How do I have them, stay lean? Well, how should I feed them? So if I'm decreasing their activity, but I still have muscle damaging workouts, what should I do with the food? So the ghostwriting involves more than just training. We talk about nutrition as well. So, and actually I do nutrition just nutrition only ghostwriting. I didn't even think about that actually. I was just doing a podcast for the training one. But even people with like nutritional disorders, if a trainer has never worked with somebody, a trainer has never worked with somebody with that nutrition disorder, I've helped them with that. So all the things are all different a little bit each time, but I wanted to talk about one of the recent ones I went through just to kind of share kind of some of the details, some of the information that goes in the process. So there was a trainer I helped. They have a new client, super excited to work with the client. And so they reached out and said, hey, I want to make sure I do a really good job with this client. And I trust your services. So I wanted to get your opinion on how to handle it. So I'm being a little bit vague because I don't want that client, my client, the trainer, to feel like I'm throwing them under the bus, or that if their client were to listen to it, all of a sudden they would know, that kind of thing. So it's always one of these little gray areas when you make podcasts like this. But I do think it's helpful, okay? So the first thing we did was we shared podcast number 423. which is training. So it's a training podcast, and it's called Personalized Training Templates. And what that is podcast was about was how to create a template for programming. Meaning, okay, if I know what all my information is, personal information, either for myself or for a client, how do I create a template, like a structure of training that I can use continually over time? So that was the first thing I shared with them, is go listen to podcast 423, so that way other information that I shared would make more sense as well. So we have like steps for creating a program. For example, like the first thing you kind of want to do is just figure out how many days a week the program should be for. So you ask the person, like, how many days a week can you commit to training? Sometimes you get a concrete answer like 3 or 5, or you'll get a range like 3 to 4 days a week. So typically, I use the lower number of the range as the kind of standard. Let's try to do that every single week. And then the upper end of the range we use is like optional workouts. Meaning, like, if the person can get it in, great. If they don't, we don't schedule anything on those days that would majorly hold them back. So, for example, if they're a powerlifting client and they want to squat, bench, and deadlift, I'm not going to put squats in an optional workout as like their only squat day, because they have to get squats in. If you have an aesthetic athlete, if you're trying to do, 4 days a week and they can commit to 3, you don't put a body part on the 4th day that is only on the 4th day. So, for example, let's just do push-pull legs. So you have them do push, which is like your push muscles, chest, front shoulders, triceps. Pull, which is back, which includes rear delts, and biceps, and then legs is legs. Then you would throw core in there some if you want. But that would actually be something you do on the 4th day, maybe core and a lagging body part. So maybe they want to bring up their arms, or maybe want to bring up their glutes. So you would have all the muscles covered in the first 3 days, and then add like an optional 4th day for any muscles that you think like the person could benefit from bringing up if they were weaknesses. So that's kind of how you do the programming in regards to how many days a week a person can commit to. So if you're listening to this and you're writing your own programming, and as your personal trainers, you are writing your own programming, and even if you get someone to write it for you, like I write it for personal trainers, they're analyzing what I'm writing for them. They're learning the exercises along the way. So we have an open communication. I don't have enough time, based on how many people I help, to explain why we do every single exercise. So I can't write the exercise name and then the purpose of the exercise, because it takes forever and I would have to charge a lot more than what I do. But trainer getting someone to write their programming, there is an enormous value to that, in the sense that you get exposed to new knowledge, new information. You get to try new stuff that maybe you wouldn't have thought to create. So it expands your exposure of information. Also, a lot of times, if you're struggling, well, not struggling, but if you're busy all day thinking of what's the best things for everyone else, it's kind of hard then to have time, mind power to write your own training as well. And so this can kind of help, having somebody write your own programming can help kind of alleviate some of that burden on you while you're trying to do everything else in regards to growing your business, like taking care of clients and other odds and ends. And then also the other benefit is you want to make sure you get the best progress, because you are walking advertisement. So if you have someone who can help you ensure that your programming is the best it's possible, you can get the best results. Therefore, you will look your best and you will grow your company or yourself the best. So, that was real quick. I kind of burst out on that. But that would be the first thing we do, is determine how many days a week the program should be for. Then we kind of want to look through and say, okay, what are all the different goals that people can address in their training? And what are the highest priorities for me, or what are the highest priorities for this client? So, for example, the goals that we have listed are strength, mobility, which is kind of like flexibility, but strength in the ranges of motion. So it doesn't matter if you twist yourself into a pretzel if you can't support any weight while you're in the pretzel. So we have to be able to support weight in positions. So that's mobility, having the ability to get to the position, but then having the ability to support weight. So we have strength, mobility. Those are typically the two things everyone should work on always, all the time, always. So, and why is strength important even if you're not a strength athlete? We talk about that in podcast number 175, titled Personal Trainer, like it's again the Personal Trainer Education podcast. And it's titled The Importance of Strength. So the idea of why strength should always be a goal is it improves all other physical aspects. If you're stronger, you will have better mobility. If you train for strength, you will actually create fat loss in the process due to the muscle damage and overall stress on the body and the activity uh, level that it takes to train for strength, burns calories and whatnot. Also, if you train for strength, you'll have the improved ability for muscle mass size. You'll have improved ability for muscle endurance, and you can actually improve cardiovascular endurance by improving strength. So, strength makes you more explosive if you're an athlete. It also just makes you more in control of your own body weight. So, relative strength, it improves coordination. So, strength does everything that we want. Therefore, strength should always be one of the top priorities. So, it's included in every single workout. So, but out of the other goals we have is, like we said, strength and mobility. But there's fat loss, there's muscle mass increase, whether you want to build muscle or just shape muscle. There's muscular endurance, there's cardiovascular endurance, there's explosivity, jumping, sprinting, stuff like that. You have general athleticism, which is body weight strength and coordination. So you'd want to decide is, okay, for myself or this client, what are their largest, most important goals? So that way I'm aware of what importance I should place on which aspects. So, for example, if you have stretching is someone's like warm up, but they're already a very mobile person, why? Why are you having stretching in there? Just because you think it's the right thing to do? No, don't do things that you just think are right. Do things that you know are right. So, another example is we have people who sometimes um, they'll put like cardiovascular endurance importance over strength, which is not appropriate. So they'll just have things out of order of importance. So it's good to go through the list. Like I prompted the last person to kind of go through this list and kind of check off and write in order of importance what they think are the most important goals for their client. And that way it allows you then to use the workout structure that we would commonly follow and decide within each section of the structure what should I focus on the most, and that would be related to what you thought were the most important goals. So, for example, every workout should follow the pattern or kind of like start with movement preparation, which includes mobility work. It includes like strengthening small muscles. We typically want to target something for the shoulder, hips, and core in that warm up. So, movement preparation is kind of getting the person ready for the workout. So there's tons and tons and tons of stuff you can do, but you can do exercises like, for example, we actually have like workouts that we'll give the people in ghosting programming. So not only do we write the template, we actually give them sample exercises and stuff. So for this client, their issues that would have helped the personal trainer, the issues that would have helped their client. So the warm up, for example, he wrote was they have like scapular push-ups, which are kind of like a movement to help improve shoulder blade positioning and shoulder blade mobility and kind of improve overall shoulder health. Then we have stuff where they would do like a full body motion. So there's different like dumbbell clean and presses you can do. Sometimes you'll do like renegade rows if you know what those are. So it's like basically doing push-ups with your hand on dumbbells. And you can even throw in like alternating rows. So you do a push-up, then you row with one arm, row with the other arm, and then you can even like jump to your feet like a burpee, like clean the dumbbells and press them overhead. So you have like a push-up, a row, a clean, and a press all in one thing, and that's pretty good full body movement. Sometimes you'll have them do like a rower, concept 2 rower, maybe ski erg, maybe they'll flip a small tire, they'll push and pull a sled around. But there are things that kind of get the person warmed up and moving around. And the idea of that movement prep is it's lighter style movements. Like they're not super heavy like 1 rep max stuff, but it's enough challenge that it gets their heart rate up. It gets like the improvement of like they get adrenaline going, which is kind of like your aggression and your attentiveness to the detail of the workout. So you'll stay focused better if you have higher levels of adrenaline. And also it produces endorphins, which are like natural painkillers. So it helps you kind of handle the rest of the workout better. So there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of benefits to a movement preparation section to the workout. Then you go into your strength stuff, and that would be like, basic major lifts that involve a lot of heavy weight, big muscles involved. You're really trying to just strengthen the focus of that day. So if the focus of that day is squats, it'd be obviously probably some squat variation. The only exception being if the client is very weak and they can't squat at least their body weight, you maybe then have like a leg press, belt squat, hack squat. You have an assisted type of movement to help get overall weight load on them. And then you might practice squats as like an accessory movement after the larger movement of heavier weight. So typically, if somebody can't squat their own body weight, it doesn't technically count as a strength exercise because it's not heavy enough to stress their whole body. So that's where you'd have to put in things like, leg press, belt squat, hack squat, like machines or assisted style movements to help them get that overload. Then you move into kind of like a muscle manipulation section, which includes like goals like muscle damage for growth, muscle damage for kind of shaping, muscle damage for endurance. It can include cardiovascular endurance, mobility. It can even include fat loss, even explosivity, athleticism. It can include pretty much anything based on the structures you use. So that's pretty much the structure of every workout. It should have some kind of movement preparation, some kind of strength component, and then kind of your muscle manipulation stuff at the end. And that allows you sections that you should cover every single goal. So like we said, strength is the most important factor for everyone on the planet in training. So it has its own section. So that's how important it is. So picking kind of what exercises go into each section, it takes time, takes effort, and it just takes experiment. So as a trainer does it more often, they're going to get much better at kind of pinpointing what type of movements are needed for that individual. So there is a book you can look at that teaches like functional movement concepts, and its title is Movement. pretty reasonable. So the title is Movement, Functional Movement Systems, and the author is Gray Cook. So that's a good book you can check out if you want to learn more about movement preparation. So you can use that book to assess someone's movement quality, see which joints have limited mobility, and which is like range of motion plus strength, and then see what drills you need to do to relate to that joint's inability. So that's a great book to read or have as a reference if you want to figure out what should you put into the movement preparation section of a workout. Then strength stuff. Strength, you don't have to be a power lifter to be working on strength, but powerlifting is a good sport that's like representative of strength. So in the sense that you can do squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses instead of bench pressing. So it doesn't have to be exactly powerlifting based, but a good powerlifting resource is Boris Shako's powerlifting book. So if you don't have that in your personal trainer, go get it. It'll be worth the money, pay whatever the hell it is. You'll use it, I promise. So you can use concepts from that book to figure out what to put in for the strength section of the workout. And then for muscle manipulation, that's where it's a whole bag of tricks, and you can do a million variations of everything. So there is a lady on YouTube. Her channel name is Redefining Strength. She has really good, cool, fun information that includes like kind of different body part focuses or full body focuses. She shows a lot of various movements you can use to address kind of a lot of the muscle shaping, muscle manipulation style things if you want. For someone who's kind of generally looking for fat loss, muscle endurance, and cardiovascular endurance. If you're looking for like muscle mass increase, then you want to train like a bodybuilder pretty much. And there's a great book for that. I don't know where it's at in my office right here, but I think it's called The Strength Workbook Part 2 by the author's last name is Delavier, Delavier. So just type that, like Strength Workbook Delavier, and I promise it'll come up on Google, and then you can find it on Amazon probably for a good cost. But that would be how to learn like bodybuilding stuff. So what kind of bodybuilding stuff should you put in the muscle manipulation section? So the movement preparation section, a really good book, like we said, was Movement, Functional Movement Systems by Gray Cook. You can look at other things like Simple Leopard is a good resource if somebody's working on like mobility, like rehab, I mean. Strength would be Boris Shako's powerlifting book is a great place to start, or even Starting Strength book by Mark Ripito. So that's a good one as well. Then muscle manipulation, if you want bodybuilding, it's that strength workbook by Delavier. I think it's Patrick Delavier, but I forget his first name. Or you can go to Redefining Strength on YouTube, and she'll show a lot of stuff for more like fitness-based kind of things if you're looking for that type of content for that section. So those are really helpful resources, so you can go check out and figure out what to put into each of those sections. So Let me see what I'm doing here time wise. Oh gosh, already 20 minutes. Oh no. So hopefully this has been helpful so far. Go check out those resources. So in regards to the client, like for the recent ghost programming I did, we wrote the workout structures. So they pretty much followed almost like a powerlifting style split, but we did swap out overhead press for bench press because it was more applicable to their specific needs. So they have like a squat and kind of lower body day. They have an overhead press with upper body and abs kind of day, and then they have a deadlift day with lower body again. And then their optional day would be like, like a chest press of some sort, because you do want to do chest pressing with upper body and kind of more core work. So we have notes for them to send to their client about focusing on quality. So make sure that what they do is done to the best it can be before they think about adding stuff. So it's always better to do whatever you're supposed to do perfect before you add more stuff. So rather than doing more things half-assed, just use your whole ass and do half the things. So that's it. Kind of a warm-ups for exercise. We promote people to practice each exercise 1 or 2 times with a light weight so they can kind of fine-tune form and kind of get a feel for what the weight they maybe should use for their working sets. Rest times, we promote them to stay within the listed rest time ranges, so that way they can improve their cardiovascular endurance and overall work capacity, which is kind of like their working volume tolerance. So the more work someone can get used to, the better results you can get from that work. And then we have kind of like a little description on how do they select the right weight. So this is again what they would send to their clients. And it says for all exercises, aim for a weight that causes you to feel challenged to maintain good form, but still able to do so. So not so light that it isn't difficult, but not so heavy that you can't do the exercise properly. Now, there's a lot of gray area in there, but that's a good general kind of like description for them to go. And then we usually promote the trainer to list some type of communication standards or rules for their clients. So how often will you expect communication? In what methods should they communicate with you? If you want them to send videos, do you want them to send videos via text, Instagram, Facebook Messenger? How do you want them to contact you? So it's always good to write down communication expectations, so that way everybody's on the same page as to what type of communication is expected. So if you get somebody messaging you like super often, like every day, and you're like, what the hell, this is ridiculous. Hey, you didn't tell them not to. So don't get mad at that person. So if you didn't tell them how often to contact you, then they're going to contact you as often as they want. So it's up to you to set the rules ahead of time. So then we went through and like in the ghost programming, for example, we have shared all the information that we talked about already. And then in the workouts, I'll go through and write the workouts for them. So for example, in the squat and lower body workout, I wrote like exercises they can use for their movement preparation, exercises they can use for their strength section, and exercises they can use for their muscle manipulation section. I wrote down the sets, the reps. I included videos for each exercise, so off YouTube. So there's tutorial videos. I even went through and explained why I picked each exercise, like why I picked the exercises specifically, and even included podcasts that they can go look up as a trainer. So like, for example, we include podcast number 407, which talks about the importance and benefits of warm-ups. We included podcast number 254, talking about the benefits of pre-exhaust training, and podcast 334, talking about kind of priming versus pre-exhaust. So how do you get somebody to perform strength exercises better and or get better results from them? We went through, we even shared podcast about number 30, about muscle cardio. So if you have somebody who wants to get lean, they want to lose body fat, but they want to have good muscle shape, then muscle cardio is the best way to structure their muscle manipulation section. So going listen to podcast number 30 will teach you more about how to do that. So we went through and did that for all the workouts, and then at the end, we listed the template that they should follow with their client. So exactly what exercises, what category or type of exercises they put in for each section, what's the rest and sets, sets and reps they should use, what are the rest ranges they should use. So everything's included in the ghost programming, so that way that trainer has a structure they can follow with that client forever and ever and ever, or until the client's goals change. And it doesn't even need to change the structure, you just change what you emphasize. So you can take that structure, use it forever. Then we give you an example first month workout that you can send to the client, get feedback from them, and then start to make modifications off the template on your own. So this is an awesome, cool service. So even if you're not a personal trainer and you would like kind of own personalized templates, we do that. So you can always contact us if you want that service. If you are a personal trainer and you are interested in ghost writing assistance, that was the idea or hope that this podcast would give you the information to kind of get an idea for what we would send. So it's a lot of information. It's everything that I wish somebody would do for me if I was in that position as a trainer. So that's my best hope, and that's what I like about these podcasts too, is just trying to share information. So I've been doing this for 18 years, uh, way over 1,000 clients at this point. I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. Work with an insane range of human beings. So I love sharing information because no point keeping it in my head. It doesn't help everybody. So the more people you share it with, the more people it helps, and it just makes me feel good. But if you are a trainer or if you're an individual person and you need help working through or working around injuries, so if you need help with movement therapy on how to do the injury rehab without losing sight of your other goals, please reach out to us. If you have sport performance issues, you want to address a certain performance ability while developing other goals too, reach out to us. If you're a client competing, so I've had trainers reach out and they have client who wants to compete in an aesthetic show and they've never helped anybody before do that. So I help them with the programming and it just helps them kind of get the experience. The client's happy, the trainer's happy, and everybody's happy. So if this is a service that you're interested in, please email us at brutalironjim@gmail.com. And if you are not interested in any of this, sorry if it sounded like a large commercial, but I hope there was some information that was helpful to you in it, such as the book resources and kind of other resources you can look for more information on individual areas of your workout. So every workout of everybody's goal ever should follow movement preparation, strength, then muscle manipulation. And then check out those resources, like we said, on how to figure out what to do in each of those areas if you're kind of stuck without any great ideas. Cool. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for listening to it. And, if you think this is something worthy of sharing, always share the podcast if you don't mind. It helps. And then just the more people you kind of share it with, family and friends and such, the better it is. So the more people we help, the happier the world will be, basically. And if you like the information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter on our social media pages under the name Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd always love to hear from you. So the podcast is for you guys. So we want to know what you want to learn about so that way we can actually make it for you. So if you want to let us know anything you want to learn about, our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.